But I'm not very happy with this. You have a pattern of ducking out into treatment when you're supposed to show up in court. You were off the grid for a year and filed 251175. Ms. Fowler is alleged to have committed a retail fraud in the 3rd degree in the Three Rivers. That's a misdemeanor. It's punishable by up to 93 days in jail and a fine of up to $500. Had a lot of bumps in the road in that case for the defendant, missing court dates, but it's on some sort of track now. File number 241826 alleges that in July of 2024, the defendant committed a retail fraud in the 3rd degree in Three Rivers. I should look at these because one's in Mendon, one's in Centerville. They were stealing liquor for the most part. 1826. That one is at the Shell station at Centerville, a bottle of Captain Morgan. 251408 is another retail fraud in the 3rd degree. That's this year in June of 25. That's alleged a retail fraud in the city of Three Rivers at the Shell gas station. Let's see which one. One of the Shell gas stations.
I believe it was Southside Shell station.
All right, there's also liquor in that one. Then there's another retail fraud that occurred allegedly August 7th in 251817. That's also a retail fraud 3rd degree in the city of Three Rivers. Then there's an open intoxicants in a motor vehicle from August 29th of 2025. That's a misdemeanor punishable by up to 90 days in jail and a fine of up to $100. The defendant was also charged with operating while intoxicated on September 4th. Which is a different date than the other open intox. She was charged originally with operating while intoxicated and open intoxicants. Prosecutor amended that charge to a felony charge of operating while intoxicated 3rd offense, and she's yet to be arraigned on that, and there's a bench warrant out for her arrest. So you now have a felony charge. It's alleged that that most recent arrest in September, you had the prior that I had with you a few years ago, and then you had an earlier offense in Indiana. Operating while intoxicated 3rd offense is a felony. Bonds normally set in the amount of $50,000 cash or surety. 1812. That's not in here. There it is. The complaint alleges that you were arrested in the village of Centerville, I believe at the DHS parking lot on September 4th. That you had a prior offense here in St. Joe County in 2020 and an earlier one in Allen County, Indiana in 2012. So I'm going to arraign you on that charge. I'm going to appoint Ross Truckee. He's already on that case. And I need to set a pre-exam conference, which I believe would be December 23rd at 8:30, and a prelim if needed for December 30th at 1 o'clock. Now, there's a lot going on here. There's this open felony warrant, and there's these 5 other larceny and open intox. It's not too much to say. You were really struggling doing 2024 and 2025. At some point, you fell off the map because you went into a residential treatment program. Tell me about that.
I was at Jim Gilmore in January, mid-January, and then middle of February, I graduated from that program. Then I went to
In January of 24, 25, or 25.
it was 2000. I finished there 2005. Sorry, it was this year.
2025, okay. Then you've been in treatment recently?
I am still in treatment.
At where?
Our Hope in Grand Rapids.
I've got some records I can provide if you'd like to see, Your Honor.
Yes. And I wasn't very happy about that. I certainly don't disagree with the fact that you need some treatment, and residential treatment even better. But the fact that you ducked out on all your criminal obligations by going into treatment is not a get out of jail free card. Abigail, have you even had a chance to discuss everything that's going on here?
I was not aware of her felony charge until just now, Your Honor.
Okay. Your office authorized them. Was there a discussion about all the misdemeanor charges?
There is an offer on that.
All right, what's the offer on the misdemeanor?
In exchange for a guilty plea in 25-1408, the people will dismiss the other 2 retail fraud charges.
And the open intox? The open intox might be
It's a city.
ordinance. Let me look at it. Yeah, the open intox is a City of Three Rivers case. All right, so plead to 1 retail fraud, dismiss the other 2. What was there any discussion regarding that?
So we were willing to accept that offer to resolve the state cases. I've talked to Mr. George. He would accept a retail fraud civil infraction to resolve what I believe is retail fraud out of Three Rivers. And then Mr. Bush was involved at some point with an open intox, and he is not here.
Well, it says Mr. Reed, so maybe Mr. George can help us. There's actually 4 retail frauds. There's 2 in 2024 and 2 in 2025. One of them is written under Three Rivers ordinance, so Ms. Stoll doesn't have jurisdiction over that. Their offer is to dismiss the other 2 retail frauds if you plead to 1. Let me repeat, retail fraud is a misdemeanor punishable by up to 93 days in jail and a fine of up to $500 when it is charged under state statute. I still don't have an interpreter. I hope we had lined somebody up for today, because Tim George tells me that I need one. The other took it 1408. Let's figure out which one that is. That would be the Shell gas station. And that one doesn't have an affidavit in it. Ms. Stoll, can you tell me what gas station that was?
It's the Shell station on West Michigan Avenue. Is that in
Okay,
Three Rivers?
there's three. There's one on West Michigan, there's one on North Main, there's one on South Main. And what did she take allegedly?
She was stopped walking out of the gas station with a couple of beers. She was stopped by the clerk, so the items were recovered.
All right. So the allegation is you were at the West Main Shell right out the corner of 131, and that you stole a couple of 24-ounce beers, but they stopped you before you got out. So they would dismiss the other two, the one from Mendon and the one from Centerville, if you plead to that one. Then there's another one, which is a Three Rivers retail fraud, 1817. Which the city attorney would reduce to a civil infraction, which is not even a crime. It is a civil wrong. That one, it's alleged that you were at the North Main Shell, and that you took 2 cans of beer, and they would dismiss, or they would turn that one into a civil infraction. 2 cans of Natural Light, $2.99. That's a new low that were the less than $3 retail fraud. Mr. Truckee, what does your client wish to do with all of those cases?
Well, we're amicable to resolving them today. Ms. Fowler's biggest concern is the ability to continue in her treatment program. And I understand with a felony warrant and the court's ability to sentence today, there's some moving pieces there. It might be in her best interest to resolve this at a hearing in a felony case. Now that's going to be scheduled prior to her completion of her programming, and that might just be the de facto.
When are you set to complete the program?
January 16th.
I guess for the court's information, I also represent Ms. Fowler in a family court child protective proceeding. And so there's additional state oversight being provided by the caseworker there.
I remember in the 2020 case, she had her child in the car, and that was an issue. I don't know about this one. What?
Vivian.
Did we have her reserved, or did we?
No, but she's good.
All right, very good. I had talked to Miss Fowler a number of times in the last 2 years, and she was not doing well. And she was terrible about showing up when she was supposed to. It was a pleasant surprise when you told me that she was going to be here. One of the reasons these 2024 cases are still out is because she didn't show up. July of 2024, no show. She called in September. She was in a facility in September of 24. And Judge Pattison dealt with that. Then she called in October of 24. And Judge Pattison said she needs to be here, and she got upset. Then it wasn't until September of 25 that we finally caught up with her. So the 224 retail frauds, she was off the map for a year. And we had talked to her a number of times over the years. So then she got the new tickets on the new site. They, point of fact, they should have arrested, I think they submitted a warrant. I'm not sure how this went. But in August and September, she got the new retail frauds. Then the drinking driving case occurred on September 4th, but it didn't get turned into a felony until sometime later when the prosecutor filed a formal complaint. Then we set an arraignment for October 16th. She didn't show up for that. She called, but she was not excused. All right, so do you wish to plead on those at this time? Or have me set them out with the pre-exam on the felony case?
It may make more sense to just have it all wrapped up on one date in
All
the
right.
future. And
Problem
we
is
could
those
also,
days are so busy.
also
set
resolve
for
the opening talks, which I think is kind of hanging out there.
On 12/23. The retail fraud ordinance. All right, Ms. Fowler, how'd you get down here today? They brought you from the
I have a
facility?
representative from our full check program, my case manager.
All right, good.
Yeah, we'd be willing to waive right now on the OWI third.
Well, I wouldn't they might not want to take it to circuit court.
Right.
If it's resolved as a second, I'd have jurisdiction over it. If she waives and it goes to circuit court, then so it can be discussed, but I got a feeling they may be able to work out a package agreement, turn that felony into a misdemeanor.
And I don't think it's outside of reason to say that she also have an eye on sobriety for if a slot
Yes,
became
that's why I'd
available.
rather keep it. But I'm not very happy with this. You have a pattern of ducking out into treatment when you're supposed to show up in court. You were off the grid for a year from 24 to 25. Judge Pattison from the notes was quite angry about that, said she was not excused. We don't do court by telephone call and say, hey, it's not convenient for me to be there. Then you went off the map with the pre-trials. Now you can be in treatment and come back and deal with your court cases, but you didn't. So You shall appear for arraignment and trial. You shall abide by any judgment entered in this case. Shall not leave the state of Michigan without permission of the court. Shall not commit any crime while you're released. You shall provide an email and telephone number upon release and immediately notify the court in writing of any change of address or telephone number. Make any reports to the court agency as specified by the court. Do not use any drugs or alcohol. I'm going to put you on community corrections. As I said, normally on the OUL thirds, the bond's $50,000. This didn't get charged because the prosecutor didn't catch the fact that it was a third offense until later. We knew it because when I saw you in 20, I knew about the Indiana offense from several years before. In order to be charged with OUIL second, you have to have 2 within 7 years. In order to be charged with OUIL third offense as a felony, it's just 3 in a lifetime. So even that 2012 case is a long time ago, 14 years ago. It's within a lifetime. But what irked me is the fact that you were refused to come in and deal with this stuff for a year. Then at some point, I think you were at the domestic assault shelter or Keystone. I'm not going to do a PR bond. I'm going to order that you cooperate with Office of Community Corrections if you do post bond. I'm setting bonding amount of $5,000 cash or surety. So you got to go to jail right now. It's a case of pay me now or pay me later. You got 6 separate criminal offenses, one of which is a felony. You don't just go to rehab and it wipes out all potential punishment. You've been in treatment for some time. There's no magic finish line that you reach the last day and you complete it. Mr. Truckee is going to try to get you into my sobriety court program. I'm not sure whether I want you in there or not. You're going to have to convince me because you've done such a poor job of showing up. Plus, you were also, and I tried to be more understanding about this. You were a mess. You didn't care. You were mad at yourself. You were mad at everybody else, and you just sort of given up. So you were at rock bottom, and now you're climbing back up the hill. And I got to give you credit for trying to climb up the hill, and you're doing a pretty good job of it.
This defeats everything I've worked so hard for. If I go to jail, I lose my program.
You're going to go to jail. If you get convicted of these, we're not going to pat you on the head and say, hey, congratulations. There is jail in your future. You blew me off for a year in 2024. I'm here all day, every day, and you would call up and say, I can't come. Now, one of the things I said is you're going to need to try to convince me to bring you into sobriety court. I call it pulling drowning people out of the water and pulling them into a boat. The fact that you go to jail is not going to undo all of your treatment. If you're committed to sobriety, we can work on it. But you don't get it for free, and I'm not doing a PR bond because you had such a history of not showing up when you're supposed to. I didn't set it at 50,000. I set it at 5,000, which is 1/10 of what it would normally be set at. So you can go with the officer. I'll see you on the 23rd, and Mr. Truckee will be out to see you.
All my stuff to the jail. Thank you.
All right,
What's
thank
the
you.
charge?
Operating while intoxicated, third offense. And if at some point on the 23rd, we decide they'll take you back into the program at that point, maybe we can do that. But I think you just got the point. When you get a court date, you need to show up. You have 5 separate misdemeanors and 1 felony. there's a consequence, and this is it. All right, you can go to the court officer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. Please do let us know in the comments what you thought of this video. If you'd like to support what we do here, the best way to do it is to pick up some of our merch. You can find it at courtroomfiles.com.